Good evening. Oh, and Mr. Williams has dropped off straight away.
Like one of his serves.
Professional.
What a start.
Always very professional. We're live, so welcome to Under the Six, presented by Big Red Cloud. Visit www.bigredcloud.com for all your online accounting needs. I am not Andy McGeady. He is off in the nature lands of Ireland, having a well-deserved break. So we've told him not to go looking for a 5G mast to get involved here. In fact, Andy, if you see a 5G mast, you know what to do. You know what to do. Right. Two men who are not on holiday, but certainly are in the holiday mood, I'm sure. Mr. Sean Holly, how are you this evening?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, real good. Feel like we're creeping ever closer to more rugby, you know. Just a lot of news this week, obviously over the border here with the English Premiership, but Aussie Super Rugby coming up this weekend. So it just feels like we got a lot more to talk about, and we could be getting closer to getting this Pro 14.
Happy days. And Mr. Paul Williams, live from the racket room. How are you?
I'm very well, gentlemen. Really well. Just come off the tennis court. Spine is in bits, but I'm okay. Yeah, like Sean said, that we're getting back to real-time rugby now, aren't we? We're getting back to real-time rugby.
And do you have a locker in your tennis club?
No, it's not that posh.
So where do you leave the big toe these days when you're finished playing? Is it?
Tell you what, the big toes.
Hang it up somewhere. Does it go in the gear bag?
The big toes had a massive comeback. Second set of acid jabs this week. Dancing around.
Oh my God. You're going to be like one of those. It's like, in any given Sunday when like half the guys are just taking shots and they're on to the doctor. Just give me a shot. Just give me the shot.
But you know what? Right now I realize why all those NFL players do that, because it is so addictive. Once you get that pain-free feeling in your foot, I'd be on them every day if I could.
Kids, do not follow Mr. Williams' advice, particularly if you're an amateur sports person. And
the new chili boy Ralapale.
Oh, he's appealing, by the way, Chili Boy. He's appealing.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. So, well, look, I'm sure he's got 8 years to get in shape for the comeback, so he'll be fine. He'll be fine. So, very good, guys. So, listen, everybody who is watching, if you're listening tomorrow, sorry you can't put in a question or a comment live, but just remember, guys, we'll have the best question or comment of the night. We'll win some Bear Hug gear. We had Big Nick Williams on from Cardiff Blues a couple of weeks ago, and he's now involved with Bear Hug, who are the unmistakable orange muscle sleeves and joint supports, uniquely using bamboo in the makeup of their supports. So this can help reduce rehabilitation time and recovery periods whilst enhancing performance. So visit getabearhug.com. Now, gentlemen, I think we'll crack on because we're going to have a guest tonight who is Mr. Al Kellogg, former Scotland international, former Glasgow Warriors skipper, who won a Guinness Pro 12 in his last game back there in 2015. So he's going to talk to us about second rows, which is a subject very close to both your hearts. I know they are the first, when you're getting the checkbooks out, boys, I know the second rows are where you're going to go after.
That's right.
But the reason we are talking about second rows at the moment is because for Guinness Pro 14, we've been having votes in for our Ultimate 15 kicked off this week. So we've taken all 143 players who have been selected for dream teams, going all the way back to the 06-07 season. So each player who got nominated or picked in those positions, we've just put them out there to the fans and said, right, in your wisest judgment, you can go and select this 15. So no doubt when we have the 1 to 15 done, it will definitely have some talking points in it. I'm sure there'll be some just rewards, but I know even from the first position that we announced for Loosehead, got a bit of debate going. So we'll talk a bit about that. And the reason Al will be on is that today and tomorrow you can vote for the second row in the Ultimate 15, and the talent available in the second row is absolutely staggering.
It's ridiculous, actually. It's so hard.
Yeah. And there's 17 guys up there for nomination. A good few of them have been on the team more than once. And funny enough, Ulster and Glasgow seem to have produced the most second rows there. And I just wonder if there's anything in the water in Glasgow or Ulster, why they're so good at the second rows. Glasgow or Ulster, I think it's recruitment. We'll see that when we put when we get all the names up when Al joins us. But Glasgow certainly have got plenty of guys in there.
Do you know there's one? I'm really surprised, and you can tell me why, Adam, who's missing from that list, I think, and that's Mick O'Driscoll.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think because he covered back row and second row.
Yeah.
And he had his couple of years away at Perpignan as well.
Yeah, possibly.
But that's a good show.
Mate, because you know my feelings on things like this. This is over a whole season. Whether it be the old Pro 12, the Celtic League, now the Pro 14, and you do. And we've talked about this on Under the Sticks before. You do need guys who are there, a lot of the time, because we discussed how many appearances in the league people like maybe Paul O'Connell, Brian O'Driscoll in the past have made, and somebody like a Mick O'Driscoll for me would always, in my recollection, have been a mainstay for Munster. When you look at Donica and Paulie who were away, he was there, the one captain. I think Paulie famously lifted the trophy one year. I think if I remember, with Mick O'Driscoll. So it's characters like that. So it's nice to see a blend. It's nice to see some players who are more recent. It's nice to see Big Al in there, isn't it? Two Big Al's, Big Al and Wyn Jones and Big Al Kellogg, who we got on tonight. So it'd be interesting to see his take, because he's not allowed to pick himself, is he?
Or can he?
He's not. He's not here to promote himself. That's for sure.
That is what I would do immediately if I was coming on. Just try and garner as many votes as I could, get the win.
Well, we know you're a man of few scruples, so luckily, right. Hopefully Al's not like that as well. We're getting some comments in. So Harold Davies, nice to see you back. Michael Jenkins is in sunny Pembrokeshire. A friend of Ospreys Rugby and of Pro 14, Turf Creative. How many jerseys make up your chair, Sean? As many tennis rackets as on Paul's wall.
That's an amazing chair. Look at that.
It is. It's cool, isn't it? There's 14 shirts actually, and they involve. See my pajama bottoms, but it involves all the teams I've either played for or coached. And so you've got all sorts on there, from Wales 7 shirts, Wales shirts, Ospreys, Scarlets, even as far back to Gloucester, Harbury College, Loughborough Students, several different, Bristol, obviously. So yeah, it's just fantastic. The thing is, as you've seen on my wall, and I got a memorabilia room, we got so many shirts that, when I came across this, I thought, well, what a great idea. I think Shane Williams put me onto it. He had it done first, and I just copied him. But I had so many shirts lying around, and the wife's pretty happy with it as well. It just congregates them nicely in a chair rather than displaying them all over the house, which doesn't go down too well,
All stuck in a cupboard.
Yeah.
Could you, if you give the vendor a plug, do you think we could get a discount for Paul to get a rocking chair made out of all those rackets?
Yeah.
Or I could just get them made out of all the Hadley shirts. That's
I'm
what
gonna
I
have
do.
to get that right now. That's the only thing. I think it's Unique Sports Chairs, but let me. He's a great lad, and there's a lot of the players or ex-players. Unique Sports Chairs. You follow him on Instagram. He's a lovely guy, and does all sorts, of great stuff for. I think he'd probably do football as well, but the rugby shirts lend themselves, because they're quite hard wearing and
more durable.
Feel nice.
Yeah.
And they do
such a great idea.
Yeah, you'll do like puffies. What do you call them?
Yeah,
Puffies.
Footstool,
Footstools as well. Yeah.
Very good. Sean, your pals watching as always. Good to see Mr. Reese. How you doing, Kyle?
There he is.
Don't ignore him because I just said to him, come on, now we're on under the sticks, throw some questions in. I can't. I'm playing Call of Duty with Liam Williams, Scott Williams, and Gareth Davis.
Oh my God, that's name dropping.
Yeah. So Kyle, see ya, go and play guns. Go and play guns with the boys.
The boys. Do you know what? I've just recently got into Call of Duty. I've got to say, so addictive. At 43, and then he said 42.
Can you select fly swatters for Call of Duty?
No, swines. You swines.
Oh dear.
No.
Yeah, it is a bit embarrassing getting into it at 43. What have you been doing with your life so far?
No. I've got a ranking above 100 now, which is good.
Yeah.
Kyle,
well, you can tell your kids are of an age where they don't need constant attention. So you're
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Get your life back.
Kyle's been paid again. They kicked me out for Steph Evans.
That is very fair.
Very
fair. Right. As we await our guest, anyway, we'll kick off. We'll have a little bit of a chat. I'm going to throw up. We've got a front row anyway for the Ultimate 15.
Right.
We've got a front row up here already, and some nice little snazzy graphics we've put together.
Lovely.
For this. So our loose head, bit of controversy here, although he's a well-deserving player. Dave Kilcoyne of Munster. And I think Gethin Jenkins, I think there's a lot of Cardiff fans asking if Gethin didn't get in. Look, there's just, at the end of the day, I think more Munster fans voted than Cardiff fans. And it's not like a lot of Cardiff fans didn't vote because we got a ton of votes. Mm-hmm. And these guys were neck and neck right up till about 3 minutes to go. We were watching the live voting coming in. And it's just worth mentioning Gethin Jenkins because he was probably the first in the line of, I don't want to say new age props, but a guy who could kind of do it all, really, Sean, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think I've worked a lot with a lot of players, even post rugby now in Q&As and that, and they always mention Gethin Jenkins because even though Melon, as they call him, he's a grumpy old so-and-so, he knows the game inside out. He's going to he's making a very good defence coach. He's going to be a good rugby coach, has a good rugby brain. So he was a talented footballing prop forward. How many of them do you get? I think the three front rows that have been picked were all ball playing talented, but quite hard and compromising players as well. And Gethin was that. Anything from a charge down in the Grand Slam season 2005. Think about how far back Gethin goes to then becoming Wales's most capped player. Lion played on the tight dead as well. Was asked uncomfortably to play on the tight dead and cover there, but ball handling, great tackler, great engine. Martin Williams speaks so highly of him, Nugget. So yeah, I'm surprised, but these things are all about who votes and who's in the present mind, perhaps. Who are the fans' favourite? And Dave Kilcoyne is making a name for himself. To be fair, Munster.
Do you know? I think the big thing with Gethin Jenkins is those skill sets now that you see with like Mako Vunipola and Ellis Genge. When initially they were seen as optional extras, weren't they? So with it, it was just if you scrummage in first, then your defence, then your engine and all that. And now that has become part of that role as a loose head prop. So the ability to play in the loose, that's now just part of that job. Seems hard to believe that loose heads were just viewed as scrummaging players. Just 15 years ago.
Take Duncan Jones, right? Now, I know I work with Duncan, but you think how unlucky. Duncan had 50 caps for Wales, but
no,
he had to deal with Iestyn Thomas, Paul James, and then old Mellon, Gethin Jenkins, 140 odd caps or whatever, and he still got 50 caps for Wales. But nowadays, Duncan would be a very, very valuable loose head, brilliant rugby player, great captain. Yeah. So and there's a host of players out there,
Yeah, particularly when we consider now it's because you got the two props on the bench compared to when we're talking about when Adam Jones and the guys are playing. It's really made a difference. It's kind of hard to dispute who got the number 2 jersey. Ken Owens, he's been on the dream team 3 years. If you've got to argue why Ken Owens should be in the best 15 for any group of players, I'm not really sure. I want to see what that group of players is because He's just such a standout. And I know that the talent at hooker is there. And I think particularly in the Guinness Pro 14, so many try-scoring hookers. But Ken is just such an all-rounder and what a character as well. And then I suppose a man who needs no introduction, Adam Bomb Jones. So, Sean, I mean, you can't really disagree too much with that front row, can you?
Well, a lot of people will, and I'm sure there's names that crop up. But again, it goes back. Adam was around a long time. Don't forget, a young man playing for Neath and then through to the Ospreys, and 99 caps for Wales, or 99 international caps, or whatever it was, 100 I think he got. But around a long time in an era where the scrum was very, very important, and he could do other things. So it's no surprise Adam. I think people outside of Osprey land would go for Adam as well. Ken is just fronts up every week, but there are some real good hookers and loose heads. I wanted to mention Alan Jacobson of Edinburgh, always a thorn in everyone's side. Good around the field. You think there was some Ulster hookers over the course of time. Rory Best. It was around a long time. So, they're an esteemed company, but there you go. That's they picked for a reason, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think the big thing with Adam Jones in that list there in particular, for 1 to 2 seasons, he was the best tight head in the world. He was number 1 for 2 seasons without doubt. Sort of around that Lions tour, and it's not often. You think how competitive rugby is, and just to get to that level and to be the best in your position for a week is amazing. Like in golf, isn't it? In golf, if you're number 1 golfer for 1 week, it's your career highlight. And I think to be the best in the world in your position, and that's what Adam Jones always was.
Yeah. So we Al is waiting to come in, so I'm going to introduce Al Kellogg to the group. So here he comes in. Al,
here he is,
coming on to Under the Sticks.
How are we, guys?
Hey Al, how's it going?
The best voice in rugby, I think.
Thank you, Paul.
Very good. So Al, Paul's has he come on to tell everybody to vote for him in the Ultimate 15? So no, he's got a few more principles than you, but so I'm sure you're not in for that. But we had a chat a couple of weeks ago. It's hard to tell during all the lockdown pods that we've done, but we did something on squad construction, and we kind of went around the table and said, right, where are you putting your money? What's the first position you're investing in? Sean and Paul are all over investing in second rows. So considering we now have 48 hours of people voting on the best second rows, we thought we'd get a Pro 12 winning captain on who's played the position to tell us all about it and what you think is going on. So I'm qualified for that one.
No, looking forward to it, absolutely. And no, not on here to tell anybody to vote for me, absolutely not.
The thing about second rows, the thing about second rows, and like Al was classic at this. There's such value for money. They VFM, right? Because, and I've said this before, so take Al now, right? He'd push in every scrum with or without the ball. He'd be involved in every attacking lineup. He'd be involved in every defensive lineup. He'd be involved in every kickoff. He'd have to hit so many rucks. He'd have to get in position to carry the ball, and he'd have to make important tackles close to the ruck. And by and large, he'd be captain.
And be captain.
Thank you very much. And you've got somebody like Al Kellogg, Alan Wynne Jones, Leo Cullen, all the guys are on that list, and that's why they're in the dream teams. You wrap them up, and they're so precious. You guys who score the tries and put the fake tan on and shave their legs, they all that. But it's these guys that win you the trophies week in, week out. And so, they value for money for me.
Like I love playing second row. I played number 8 when I was younger, and then I got, right, you're too tall, up you get. And it's a position where you're involved in an awful lot. You don't get to score many tries, or certainly I didn't. Some of the modern guys do now. I was listening to Paul earlier on talking about the loose head and the role of a loose head. Like the role of most players is evolved so much, they have to do so much more. Like you go back 10, 15 years, there was set piece forwards. And set piece second rows, whereas now these guys are doing everything. And then you get the kind of hybrids. You get your Ian Hendersons and people like that who can do everything, who can play in the back row, but then move up into the second row and be brilliant at the set piece, be brilliant in the line out. but also maybe get you 3 or 4 turnovers in a game. So yes, it's a role, it's a position that's changed over the years.
Yeah, that's such a good point, actually, when you look at players like Brodie Retallick and how they, I mean, in Kiwi rugby, he's almost like the third receiver in midfield. They pass to him a lot. He either takes it up. I mean, is that something you can see becoming a role for Northern Hemisphere locks as well, Al?
Definitely. I think what you get is you get the balance to the team, or probably more importantly, the balance to the back five of the scrum. So depending on what you've got in the back row, ball carrying wise, you'll need to add to that or emphasise that or change the different strengths that you've got within that back five. And the best teams in the world are the teams that have got a fantastic balance to the back of the scrum. I look at somebody like Brodie Retallick and the ball that he'll carry. I mentioned Ian Henderson from an Ireland point of view as well. But then you still will have the role. You still need the set piece second rows, and it's almost disrespectful to call Alan Wynne-Jones a set piece second row, but he excels at the set piece. He's a great scrummager. He's very good in the line out. He does everything else well, but maybe not just like a big Leone Nicolara for Glasgow, where his main strength is his ball carrying. But there's always going to be a place for guys who can just do the basics well and then add to if and when they need to.
Yeah, so when I'm going through and like so the background to this, and when we put up the first vote today, people are, well, where's James Ryan? Where's Ian Henderson? Where's some of these guys? These are all the guys who got voted in for the dream teams, and as we all know, we don't always get this. The internationals won't play enough games sometimes to be qualified. Well, the 17 guys who've been in the team over the 13 of them, and a few people have been in it more than once, and one particular player, no guesses who was in 7 times, 7 dream teams for Alan Wynne-Jones.
That's a given,
which is nuts. But I put together like 10 of the pictures here of the guys who are up, and it's interesting because we talk about the development and the change of the game maybe of the last 10, 15 years, and how different roles have evolved and how guys are hybrids. But if you look at all these guys, you've different athletes, you've different strengths. I mean, Justin Harrison came in from Australia, made a really positive impact in Ulster. They won the Celtic League that year. He's not the same player as Leone Nicolara. He's not the same player as a Tyke Byrne, or Scott Fardy. I mean, I think it's Tom Ryder we've got in there. Al, you'd know a bit about him. I mean, there's really a lot of different skill sets. But as Sean said at the very beginning, these guys all have to be able to do such a laundry list of basics just to be in the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And the basics, some tough skills like running a line out is another one it needs to be added in there. Like, you can be exceptional in the line out, but the ability to run the line out is a skill that not all second rows will have. And sometimes that'll go back and a back row will take it on, but you would ordinarily want your loose head second row running that line out, whoever's jumping at 4 in what would be a standard line out. But the balance between the second rows is interesting as well. I mean, historically, traditionally, it was your tight head lock, the bigger ball carrying, kind of harder, more aggressive, more tight orientated lock, and then somebody a wee bit more athletic who maybe hung out a little bit wider and carried the ball a wee bit wider as well as running the line out. But that's probably gone as well now. Like the balance can be completely different. I think it's very much, as I said earlier, about the balance of that back of the scrum as opposed to the second rows. And you're dead right. I mean, you look at the mix of players that were in there, and they're completely different skill sets. I mean, ultimately, all good line out options, all good line out forwards, which is going to be, the amount of opportunity you get to win the ball and score tries from set pieces is crucial to any team. But you mentioned Tom Ryder there. Tom Ryder, a bit of a hybrid, and a guy that could play in the back row as well as move on into second row. A few probably set piece forwards, including myself, Justin Harrison, Big Leo Cullen, Paul O'Connell, brilliant in the line out. Not in any way, there was nothing flashy about what Paul did, but he just did it well. He did everything well. And Alan Wynne-Jones is probably exactly the same. He's never seen anything that's overly flashy from any of those guys, but they just do it consistently well, and that's probably the key mark for a good second row, is to be consistent, which sounds a bit boring, but I think you look at all those guys who play the game consistently well.
Yeah, I think Al mentions the balance between the two is very important. So here is fans' opportunity to be the coach, if you like, on selection, and it's one of the key things for a coach is obviously selection when you've got an embarrassment of riches. So you have to take that into account. You can't just pick the two best players on paper. You can do it on this because it's fantasy, it's dream team. But in reality, if you want to get your head on and do the right selection, then that yin and yang is very, very important. So, like somebody like Leo Cullen, a long career, not overly flashy. You wouldn't be worried about Leo Cullen making big breaks and backhanded offloads and this, that. But my God, Al, he'd be a nuisance defending lineouts. He'd be arms and legs. You wouldn't want to be anywhere near him when you come to a ruck on the floor because he'd shoo the bloody hell out of you. He'd never smile. He'd lead. He'd know all the opposition's calls. So to a coach, that can be invaluable if you then got, say, a Tom Ryder, a Ty Burn, who's a little bit more loose and offload and carries a lot. So that balance is very, very important. And I think that's why the great combinations, and Al will know because he would have played in them. You think of Doneker and Paulie complemented one another. I was thinking Osprey, somebody like Ian Evans or Ian Goff would complement Alan Wynne-Jones because they're completely different, and you can Backy's Botha and Victor Madfield. What a combination. So, Al's nailed it on the head there. I mean, I was going to ask you, Al, with the player you were, who would be your ideal companion alongside you in the second row?
Oh, that's a great question because it probably changed and it evolved. Like playing against, you mentioned combinations there, like playing against Paul O'Connell and Donncha Callahan for Munster. They're phenomenal, what they brought to the game and difficult players to play against. The one-on-one battles you get in the second row are always in the line-out. And like Paul ran that line out brilliantly. As far as playing alongside me, the guy that probably got the most out of me was Big Richie Gray. So he had, all the strengths that I didn't have. So then I had to, work to catch up with him in certain areas, and then I would try and bring him along in others. But when you look across that group, for me, it's difficult to go past Paul because he was just playing such good rugby at the time where we were competing, or the teams were competing. That Alan Wynne-Jones used to go around and done phenomenal things, but he would be the guy I would say. A big, like, you've got to mention Leone in there as well. I know. It's just a complete. All I was told as a young second row was get lower, reduce your height, hit that rock, clear that out, let the guys carry the ball, and then all of a sudden Leone came over to Glasgow and he threw the ball out with the ball in one hand and throwing offloads like you wouldn't believe. And I'm going, I'm not allowed to do these things.
He's fine.
The reality was it wasn't that I wasn't allowed. I just didn't have the ability. But he's just got an incredible skill set, a brilliant skill set. And playing alongside him, if I was calling lineouts and knowing he's at the front of that lineout, you've got a safe option to go there almost every time as well. But yeah, it's a very difficult one to narrow it down to one because there's so many different skill sets that people bring.
And Al, actually,
by the way, Sean, I do agree with you with Leo Cullen. Having played against him so many times,
horrible.
He galvanised that team, but he was a nasty man out there at times, but in such a brilliant way that he never a backward step. Not many smiles in the toying costs or anything like that before the game either, but he wore and filled that Leinster jersey every single time. And he's doing a brilliant job now as well.
Yeah, he is.
And Al, actually, of some of the guys in that list and the guys that you'd have tangled with in a Glasgow jersey, every season, you mentioned Leo Cullen, obviously. Who are the other guys that because we very rarely, until Maro Itoje and these guys come along, very rarely did the second row pair-ups get top billing for, you got to watch this key matchup. So, who were the guys that you either hated going up against, maybe Leo, or who were the guys that you enjoyed going up against? Maybe you could get a bit on them, or who were the guys that you liked?
The Munster boys from you enjoyed it because those boys had the profile. They were both the kind of line second rows at the time as well. So it was always a big challenge, but an enjoyable one. Like Sean mentioned the Ospreys. There was a big from a Glasgow point of view. We kind of went through that journey where we were losing more games than we were winning, and then we started competing, and the Ospreys were always a team. We played the Ospreys for the first time we ever qualified for the playoffs, and we're pretty well beaten. We were tapping ourselves on the back probably for even getting there, whereas at stage the Ospreys were looking at winning it. And then we just, edged up alongside each other. And then I remember playing the Ospreys in a game, and it wasn't the semi-final, the playoff, but it was a game that one of us would get into. It was at Scotstoun, and we won that game. And I've got to admit, I enjoyed winning that game. Probably I've enjoyed winning a lot of games, but that's to the Ospreys' credit. Like, embarrassment back then as well. Like, you had the ability when your Welsh internationals away to have Jerry Collins and Tia and all these Marty Holler and these superstars playing, and occasionally second row wise, old Jughead Ryan Jones would get thrown up to try and fill that space as well, which he did pretty well. I found his jersey recently, Wales under 19s versus Scotland under 19s.
Wow,
nice.
Swap jersey. At the time, probably didn't know it. We both got yellow carded in that game for fighting each other as well.
Wow, well. You would have. I guarantee you would have won that fight.
There's a bit of history there as well. But yeah, I think just like probably got to know more of the guys after the career than you do when you're playing, because it's just the way professional rugby is.
And Sean's mentioned as well. He says the name like Backy's both. Look, you played for Scotland as well. Who gave you your toughest days now when you're playing Test rugby?
Probably your Backy's both and Victor Matfield combination. Matfield's ability to run that line was frightening. There was some fantastic international second rows about at the time, but Backy's both even. For a club point of view as well, the physicality he brought to the game was just different level. We toured South Africa when I was quite a young fella, and I still remember him have a hold of me and calling me a boy, repeatedly calling me a boy. I'm looking him in the eye, telling him there's no way that I'm a boy, or whatever it was I was saying to him in slightly less polite terms. But you couldn't help but he was a physical presence, and when he hit a rock, oh my goodness, there's bodies going everywhere.
Yeah.
And just I'll stop dominating the conversation and let Paul jump in after this. But you were talking about Leone Nakarawa earlier on, and we can't let it go by. How big a boost is that for Glasgow Warriors? They've not only to get him back this season, but now he's signed on for next year as well. I mean, like that's just such a massive boost, not only for Glasgow, but I'll be selfish and from a Kids Pro 14 point of view, just having world class players like that, it's brilliant to see. But for the Warriors boys, that's great news, isn't it?
Brilliant news, and I think it says an awful lot about the club as well. Like, there's a guy who, any club in the world would want his signature, and his ability to play into the back row as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him playing a bit of back row for the Warriors this season. And that Scotty Cummings is coming on fantastically well in the last couple of years, and he really formed lock within the league, and Big Richie Gray coming back as well. So yeah, for Leone to be staying, and the compliment at that page, how comfortable he feels at Glasgow and the way he's looked after the Glasgow, I think is absolutely fantastic. And like, Danny Wilson will be over the moon to be able to secure that signature. He'll bring fans in as well. People want to watch him play. And I tell you what, I wouldn't have enjoyed playing against him, because enough times at training when you're trying to stop him offloading, and you think, right, I'll go high, and all of a sudden he's past you and he rolls around the back, or I'll go low and I'll put him down, and by that stage the ball's already been flipped to somebody else. There was no right answer.
Yeah, the question I've always wanted to ask, because anecdotally, you second rows tend to get less injuries than other players, like back row forwards or whatever. And do you think that is because they are naturally that size and don't have to add that much mass? Is that something you've noticed in your playing career, that because second rows tend to be just naturally big men, that they've got lower injury rates, or is that just me being mental?
I think second rows are just tougher.
Just born.
Good answer, Al. Good answer.
I don't know. There's a fair few injuries, and I tell you what, it's 5 years since I played the game, and you feel them now more than you did when you were playing. But I think some of the injuries you see a lot of the injuries now in the contact area when you've got guys over the top of ball. When you're 6 foot, don't get me wrong, somebody like Tag Burn or somebody like that would be over the top of the ball a lot, but when you're 6'8", it takes a while longer to get down there. So I'm not really sure, but I do agree with you. I think the kind of longevity of a second row is decent. It's probably up there with the best in any of the teams, and that's because whether they're tougher or whether they're just a bit luckier, I'm not sure.
Nice.
Right. So we've had some comments coming through. This is the great thing since lockdown has forced us into live streaming. Also, the great thing is we get people coming in asking their questions or slagging us off or telling us we're talking out of our backside. But I think there's been some good questions or just general comments coming in here in terms of our second row conversation. So Sueno from Australia, can't be a classic ruck inspector lock anymore. Those days are long gone, I would say. We have Craig Inch, even at club rugby, a lock that has the basics stands out. Definitely the most fun position to play. Paul, you're a club rugby lock in your day, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I used to go against all of the sort of premise of I didn't like contact, didn't like making tackles, didn't like messing my hair up, didn't want to lose teeth. So I was a bit more of a, I don't know, yeah, sort of a lock come full back, one of that sort of hybrid. So just stand in the middle of the field, worrying. Yeah, I was pretty good at that. My favourite question that we've had through is from Kyle Reese, who's an actor, an LA Hollywood actor, and he said, "Have you ever thought about being a Bond, like a villain in a Hollywood movie?" And with that voice, Al, you could do it definitely. You could have been the new Darth Vader if they needed one.
I've maybe missed my calling.
That voice, whenever I hear you doing comms or anything on TV, whenever I think that Big Al's on, just even if I'm not in the room.
There's a good one from Petersfield rugby coach as well, because we've mentioned Richie, but we haven't mentioned Johnny Al. Now, it might be a sore subject. He's off to Exeter Chiefs. Obviously, we got Richie coming back, Leone staying. Is Johnny Gray still? This is a question for me because and me and John Humphreys are really close. And when he first went to Glasgow, he said, "This kid, I think he could end up being a Lion. He could be that good." Is he still on an upward curve, do you think, or have we seen the best of Johnny Gray?
I don't believe we've seen the best from him, but for me, he is that good. What he's not found yet is the point of difference. And we talked about points of difference from a few different players there. Now, Johnny, for me, needs to find that point of difference. So, yeah, it's disappointing from a Glasgow Warriors point of view that he's going. I think that Glasgow don't look short second row wise with Richie coming back and Leone, and I'd say Scott Cummings has been an absolute superstar for the last couple of seasons. Probably the best player in the final last year, certainly in a Glasgow shirt for such a young man. That's full credit to him. But Johnny going away, I think will be good for him. He'll develop and he'll push himself in different directions. And that will hopefully find that point of difference. Like, honestly, from a work ethic, work rate point of view on the park, there's nobody I've ever seen match him. The number of tackles, the consistency of those tackles, the quality of those tackles is phenomenal. He's a great line-out forward. He's developed the ability to lead a line-out as well. It wasn't something that came naturally to him, but he learned that, and he's done that now at international level and at club level. So, yeah, I believe he is that good. But you look around the league, and there's so many other good second rows out there that he just needs to find that extra, that point of difference that I'm talking about that will then take him into that Lions contention.
Well, do you know what? There's no better club to do that. I know it's obviously upsetting for Glasgow fans, but Exeter could be where he finds that because they are a team that use the tight five a lot. And it could be a good move.
And it'll suit him as well. Like he's got untold ability, and like I think we've all seen it in the stats in the Guinness Pro 14 or the Guinness Six Nations, where he's consistency in what he does, and I mentioned that word a lot. But it's up there with anybody. So now it's, as I say, it's about him going down there, challenge himself in different ways, being a wee bit uncomfortable, because that'll be good for him. And he's a Glasgow boy, born and bred. He grew up supporting the team. He came in when his brother was there. Now he's out his comfort zone. Now it's go away and spread your wings and expand and become a better player. And I'm excited to see that happen in the next 6 months to the year.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, Al, before I let you go, there's actually one more comment that's come in that I like the look of, because you mentioned Scott Cummings earlier on, and Cameron Peary has asked, do you think Scott Cummings has the potential to be a Scotland captain one day? And I'm going to preface this with the thing that struck me about him, and it's not actually the last couple of years and how he's sort of become part of the furniture at Warriors at such a young age. It's during the previous World Cup in 2015, he made his debut for Warriors, I think, as an 18-year-old. And for that to happen as a winger, in the back line, you see that in pro rugby, it happens a lot. But for an 18-year-old to play second row, like top tier professional game, I mean, really kind of says a lot about him, doesn't it?
It does, and he's added so much to his game since then as well. Like he came in and he was playing well, and he's now like that final against Leinster, the ball carrying you see with him as well. For a big man, he gets himself low, and he doesn't carry the same way low and he's ever going to carry, but he bashes the gain line and he makes the hard yards, and he's in the same type of mould as an Alan Wynne-Jones, and he's not. There's nothing incredibly flashy about him, but he does everything well. Will he be Scotland captain? I'm not sure at this stage he's got ambitions to be Scotland captain. He wants to get himself established in that Scotland team. He's got some decent competition in that Scotland team. We got guys like Grant Gilchrist at Edinburgh as well. So it's not a given that he'll play for Scotland. So he needs to work on that. There's some decent young leaders appearing, like Jamie Ritchie, not a second row, but Jamie Ritchie at Edinburgh and in a Scotland jersey is a brilliant leader. The way he speaks, the way he leads by example. So there's enough depth in that area that it's maybe not Scotty, but what Scotty will bring is he'll fill that second row jersey and he'll do it very well.
Brilliant stuff. I think before this started, I said, look, we just have you on for about 15 minutes. So I hope we haven't interrupted too much of the Kellogg family time or any box sets you're going to get tucked into tonight. So thanks so much for coming on, and thanks for your time. It's brilliant to have you on.
No, brilliant to be on and chat about rugby. So thanks very much.
Thanks,
Happy
Al.
days. Talk to you soon, Al. Cheers, bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Do you know what? We're so lucky to do this. Sometimes I forget that I'm actually on the podcast and I'm just sitting here listening, just thinking, "Oh, this is really interesting." Actually, and they think, "Oh, hang on, I better ask a question." Oh,
yeah,
man.
you do get the kind of glazed over look.
I really do.
Worried about you going out in the bars in Cardiff and stalking rugby players.
But you know, it's such a privilege to have access to players like Alistair Kellogg, and we've had Tommy Bowen and James Hook. Just to get them ask them questions I've always wanted to ask a test lock about that injury thing and about the longevity of career. So it's a fantastic opportunity. So
it's now the Paul and Adam show.
Was Holly going to do more press ups?
Yeah, probably going to do the press ups because he's dropped off to a technical error. He's definitely trying to get back. I mean, before we finish up on this subject, I just want to go back to this. It's
ridiculous.
This is just 10 of the guys. So you've got Al Kellogg, you've got Scott Fardy, Alan Wynne-Jones, Leo Cullen, Johan Muller, Justin Harrison, Leone Nakarawa. You've got Tyke Byrne, Tom Ryder, Paul O'Connell. And the one thing about some of these guys as well, I'll just shoot off. So, I mean, Paul O'Connell, I thought it was brilliant. Towards the end of his career, when he started playing for Joe Schmidt for Ireland, he actually started showing that he could do a few things, and he actually could start passing the ball. His running game, as such, became he developed it. He was playing the best rugby of his career when he retired. Yeah, and I think it's very difficult for second rows to say that. But you look at this,
similar thing with Alan Wynne-Jones. Alistair Kellogg there said that, Alan Wynne-Jones may be on that side of the set piece lock. But hang on, Sean's back. He's back. He's done his 50 sit-ups.
Sorry, boys. I don't know. There's an electrical storm coming over where I am, and it's creating havoc. So I apologize. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah,
we were just chatting about the list of locks. And we were saying about Paul O'Connell, who towards the end of his career started playing a little bit more rugby, offloading and passing. And I was saying that it's something that Alan Wynne-Jones has started doing a lot more in the last 2 or 3 seasons as well. He's been carrying up in that Brodie Retallick style role, looking for the offloads out of the side. The role has changed, isn't it? Players like Brodie Retallick and Sam Whitelock, they've forced everyone to move a little bit more, and Tag Byrne and of course Nakarawa, but he's a bit of a freak show, Nakarawa. I mean, you won't get many locks with that ability, really, unless you move to the NBA.
I was talking to Wayne Pivac at the Six Nations launch last year, and he was intimating about a slightly different role for Alan Wynne-Jones. Being in wide channels. I sort of picked it out in some of the analysis that he felt that he might be better off offloading in the wider channels and be available for crossfield kicks. So, it's evolving all the time. Retallick has taken it to a different level for me. I think he's been fantastic. It's a real shame he's injured at the moment. But it's a great position to play. And my eldest son plays at lock, and I tell him it's the best position to play in the field. He's got an aptitude for stealing line out now because he's quite. He likes the line. He was starting to read. He's light, so they can lift him. It's just a brilliant position. You're involved for a youngster in all aspects of the game.
Yeah, and we've had an interesting question in: will RG Snyman be as good as the other locks we've mentioned? And talking about freak shows, you've got Nakarawa on one side, who's like the handling freak show, and then you've got Snyman. I mean, if Snyman wasn't playing rugby, he'd be in a marquee with the bearded woman out the back. He's the size of that man. I mean, his hands, his skull. When you see him standing next to other locks, he looks enormous.
He could be. I'm going to go and do some diligence and get the Peter O'Mahony quote from today. You guys chat. I'll get you this quote.
I think he'll be fantastic in the Pro 14. Snyman.
Yeah, I agree. I think I spoke about this. In an analysis piece, when we looked at Leinster against Munster the last 2 years semi-finals, and Snyman will bring something, but Johan van Graan has to use him properly. It's gonna the Guinness Pro 14 is so diverse, so many different styles. Munster have to now find a way to use him and Deolande to get him over the line a little bit more. Here we've got two absolute gold dust quality guys, big physical specimens. They've got to use them appropriately. I think Snyman needs to come and be, almost Nakarawa, like in terms of impact. I don't say he's got to be around offloading, but he's got to be an impact for Munster to gel them and bring them up to that different level. Deolande will do it by the way he plays in the centre. But Snyman, I think, really needs to enforce himself on the league and say, do you know what, I've come here to get Munster winning again. And I feel that strongly about it because there's only so long you can rely on people like Billy Holland and Peter O'Mahony and, really toiling away. And when it comes to the stardust of the Leinsters, then, it's hard to compete. So, I'm really excited about those two coming, Snyman in particular. And I think he could be really something, Paul.
Yeah, definitely. And particularly when the weather gets really grim, that's when you need a monster lock, isn't it? That they just make those yards look easy, don't they? It's something, I've watched Cardiff Blues quite a lot, and because they've tended towards 6 lock hybrids, which is great on their synthetic pitch. But then in the winter, when they're playing away on grass, you need just naturally big people, don't you? It just makes the game a lot easier, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to read out the quote from Peter O'Mahony. He did some media today. He is an incredible specimen altogether, talking about RG Snyman. I have never seen anything like it. Very impressive. Physical man. He looks like he can shift as well doing speed work. He is a serious looking athlete. Peter O'Mahony has seen a few summers. He's seen a few international players. This man knows what he's talking about. That's high praise indeed, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, you've just got to look at Snyman's skull. I mean, it is. I've never seen it. It's like a bin. It's unbelievable. Yeah. It's like an office bin. The proportions of it. I can't wait to see him starting to play.
As soon as freedom of movement is sorted, Paul's going to be straight over to Limerick.
Definitely.
Counting down the Munster's first visit to the Cardiff Arms Park.
Oh,
right, where are they staying? Where's the hotel?
With Snyman. It's going to have a pint with Snyman. I'll have one and he'll probably have about 6. He'll be like Andre the Giant.
Yeah. Right, going to kick on. We got a bit of news, got some stuff to talk about as well. So going to jump in. We got some news involving wingers. And so first of all, slightly sad news. Rabs Matuane will be leaving Cheetahs, the top scorer in the Guinness Pro 14 last season. Sounds like he's off to the Lions. The Cheetahs have confirmed he's leaving. Certainly an explosive player and maybe taking that a PP route, you know, impressing at Cheetahs, going to one of the other South African clubs, and potentially a Springbok future in line there. It's probably the motivation to move. But the next one, and this is the one I'd be interested to get Sean's take on. Monty Ione. So he becomes qualified for Italy in November because he's been lighting it up for Benetton over the last couple of seasons. Australian winger, and he's been called into the training squad that Franco Smith has had. So, you know, when we started lockdown, guys, we were talking about Italy and the dire straits that they were in. They are now ahead of all of us because the worst is behind them, and Franco Smith's going to get his guys together in the next little while, and Ione's going to be in there. Sean, what do you make of this guy? He's clearly a good finisher. International level, what do you think?
Well, I think when you look for Italy, mate, then you've got to say it, because who's he up against? Esposito, you know, who people like that, you know, they've shipped people like McLean to the wing, and Jaden Haywood. So I think he's an out-and-out winger, and he's got a proven track record now in the Guinness Pro 14. When I'm doing my analysis bits and I look at the stats, he's got a lot of offloads as well, and a lot of assists. Yeah. So, you know, there's a guy who has a sniff, has an eye for it. And let's face it, you know, if it strengthens Italy's depth, it's a massive thing. So, you know, they got another one, haven't they? I don't know whether Ratuva becomes qualified or whatever, but he's another one who's heavily involved, you know. But I reckon Ione's a good addition to the squad, and you know, we could well see him in the next Six Nations. So that's great news for Italy.
The thing with Ioane, he leads an awful lot of Treviso's counter-attack from kick defence, and that isn't something that Italy tend to have. You know, they've had a succession of reasonably slow sort of fullbacks and wings. So I think picking him, like Sean says, you've got to pick him. He'd probably be the best finisher in that squad. And then all of a sudden, if you're kicking too deep to a player like that, he can create something out of nowhere, which Italy don't really have in the back three.
Do you know, having watched a lot of gutsy Irish teams as a kid, if they hadn't had Simon Gagan or Dennis Hickey in some of those teams, they'd have never got half the results that they did. Yeah. And you cannot really put a price on having a guy who just knows how to get over the line. And that's the one thing that strikes me watching Italy, because Italy just have purple patches all the time. You see every home game, at least, you know, they are getting up there, but when they get into the 22, the finesse isn't there, the cutting edge isn't there. And look, this is going to be a big step up for Monty Ioane if he goes up and he gets selected for them. You know, as talented as he is, you know, the game's going to be quicker, the space isn't going to be there. How does he adapt? But if he can bring what he has for Benetton, I think it's something that's definitely lacking in the Italian arsenal at the moment.
It's a risk-free gamble. Just get him in.
Yeah, absolutely. Not necessarily that there's news around Caleb Clarke, but Paul, can we talk about Caleb Clarke?
Yeah, moved a long way up my man crush list in the last 4 weeks.
Can I just tell you, there is a man who does not skip leg day. Those are some serious quads he's got going on. And I'm definitely straying into your area of expertise here, which is admiring men's muscles.
I know, but do you know, Sean made such a good point about Clarke when we were watching him last weekend on our Saturday morning pod, that his confidence levels up massively now. So the first 2 weeks we saw him, he was, you know, he'd try and beat one player and then he'd look for a safe pass, whereas now I think he realizes he can shred pretty much anyone in that league. And now he's looking at these big 40-meter breaks now, still delivering beautiful passes at the end like he did the Saturday gone. But he looks like he realizes now he's as good as anybody in that competition.
Well, you know, it says something when they accommodate him by moving Rico Ioane into the centre. It's timely, isn't it, with Ben Smith and Milner Scudder, you know, struggling. It's timely that maybe we've got all of a sudden the next big thing. And his performances to date, and he's grown every game so quickly, suggests that he's on that curve that Ian Foster will just go straight in, son, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the global market the way it is now, and Eddie Jones saying that he fancies Hoskins Sototo, you've got to cap people quickly. It's easy to find. You give Caleb Clarke £1 million a season to come and play at Bristol. Next World Cup, he's playing for England. So you've got to move fast.
Didn't work with
Nice
Brad
segue,
Fields,
Paul.
did it?
Oh, there it is. Look at that. Sorry. I didn't know that was going to happen.
There you go. Well,
Yeah,
you give me the
like
opportunity to put in something that's preloaded.
There we go.
This is our friend Gavin Mayers. I quite like this, right, from Eddie, because why should New Zealand keep getting all these guys? And Eddie, what did Eddie recently say? They have the 3 best academies in the world: Fiji, Samoa, and Tonga. And here we have another one. Although, to be fair, Hoskins Sotutu's dad did play. I think he played against the Lions in 1993, maybe for Auckland. But he's of Fijian descent with an English mother. So here Eddie's stirring he's almost taunting Fozzie, isn't he, to say, you've got to pick him, otherwise I'm going to be in his ear, this guy. But here's another one, like Clarke. He's hot to trot, isn't he?
Yeah, and the thing is, that wouldn't be one of these, people look down on the residency players. I don't. That's just part of pro rugby. But he's got a legit reason to play. His mother's English. He can go and play there. He's just got as much right to play for England as Martin Johnson. So it's, but he has, it's the same as when Gareth Anskin came over and everyone said he was a residency player. His mother's, she's got as much right to play for Wales as anybody. So yes, but I like Eddie Jones and his mind games. He's just bored in the house, isn't he?
Do you know what? It's I think we're definitely getting into our groove. We haven't exactly done a rehearsal. I've given you guys a heads up. This is flowing very nicely because we're talking about residency. We're talking about these guys. Boom. The Paul Williams column this week.
Look at that.
There we go. James Lowe becomes qualified for Ireland before the end of 2020. So, if you're Irish and you're looking for something positive from 2020, in general, 2020 has been pretty crap for all of us. But there you go. But Paul, you've gone a step further and you're saying if he's playing for Ireland, he's straight into the Lions conversation.
Well, I think, I didn't say he'd be straight into the Lions test team, but I think he'll be part of the conversation. I think he'd get straight onto the wing with Ireland instead of Conway. Personally, that's what I think will happen. That didn't go down very well when I was chatting to Munster supporters this morning, but that's sometimes how it goes.
No,
so
I think you're right though, Paul, because this is a potential game changer for Ireland.
He's a game changer, man.
No disrespects to people like Conway, Fergus McFadden, and bless him, Keith Earls, who's been an amazing servant, by the way. But this is a different animal in a different time now. We see him time and time again for Leinster, and it's not just the Guinness Pro 14; it's in Europe as well. Yeah. And I think I'm looking at going, oh God, you'd love to have him if you were the English or Welsh or Scottish coach.
Yeah, totally. I think once he's part of that conversation, that he will be part of Gatland's South Africa conversation.
Oh, mate, you look, he took Sean Maitland.
Exactly.
Right. Now, you telling me James Lowe isn't up to Sean Maitland's a good player. There's slightly different styles of player.
Yeah.
But you've got to South Africa. You've got a fast, physical specimen who can play. He's in. He's in the squad for me. I'm just penciling him in my pub quiz chat that every 4 years we have pick your 38, and he's in.
Yeah, I think he will. And he knows he's played against a lot of those South Africans in Super Rugby, so that'll be another little tick.
This is the great thing about McGeady not being on the podcast. He won't even entertain Lions chat about selections when it's 3 days away from the first test.
No, I know.
He's allergic to people telling you what you want your Lions team to be.
Do you know, historically,
historically,
I don't like doing that either. I'd rather peel myself and then lie in a vat of salt than pick a Twitter Lions 15 on Twitter. It's just pointless.
Oh, but you know what though? Like, don't worry about what people say because you're gonna annoy people. We started this pod talking about fantasy selections, right? And then Sean came in with his reality when we were talking to Al. Hang on a second, selection's a different game. All the rest of it. Like, think about this: the Lions, right? They are the only professional all-star team in the entire world of sport that takes to the field in a competitive environment. That is
the dream team,
insane.
Basketball. That's the only other one. But yeah, I take your point.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the incredible thing about it. And let's stir this up a little bit more. And as somebody I saw, I don't know, Paul, if it was somebody chatting to you about your column and stuff like that, and someone was saying, yeah, James Lowe on one wing, Duan van der Merwe on the other wing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a Kiwi and a South African. But it could happen. I mean, Van der Merwe.
I think Lowe is equipped to go in and play international rugby from the get-go. And I think the other thing you got to realize about James Lowe, he does razzly things. He scores tries. He's got offloads. He runs really well. He gets people into the game. Have you seen him hit a ruck?
Yeah, he's got a big undercarriage.
Dave Rennie has taught that kid how to hit a ruck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got a frame, and he's good wingers and good second rows. They've got big backsides, to put it politely.
He really has. And, a lot of people don't realise how close he was to the All Blacks. Yeah. That was, just an injury away. And once you get a little run in that squad, you can be off and running. So he was All Black quality. It's not that he moved because he couldn't get in. He was going to be part of it, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, McGeady can't come back onto the pod until he gives us his predicted Lions 15.
God, we'll never see him again.
I'm very happy to report, boys, that your good behaviour in my absence last Saturday morning for the watch along. We had the highest numbers of views between YouTube and Facebook for our watch alongs. They're proving really popular.
Sean did say the word boner, though. He said the word boner before 8:30 in the morning.
Mate, it was a Justin Marshall quote. Boner, as in he debones animal carcasses. That's what. Yeah, that was.
I slapped his wrist for you.
We're well past the watershed now, but yeah. But boner incidents aside,
it was fantastic
for us. It's going really well, and people are telling Paul, they're telling me, they're telling Andy, and I think Sean's had some feedback as well as what we're seeing on social media, as well as what the numbers are telling us. So we're going to develop this concept and see what we can do when the Guinness Pro 14 season returns. Brilliant. As well. So this is good. So we are going to keep doing it. And with the pod is going to take a little break in a couple of weeks because we need a summer break. But I think we're going to keep doing the watch-alongs. And now we've another few dishes on the menu. This weekend we have to return Super Rugby Australia, and we're going to do the watch-along on Saturday morning for Brumbies and Rebels. And yes, we can all salivate over what the Kiwis have given us. But boys, we've got a bit of fun that we can have. And again, I'm sure this is why Andy is killing himself that he's not on the pod tonight. What does Andy love talking about? He loves to talk about rule changes. He loves the nitty-gritty. Now,
there's a couple, isn't there?
Lots of different things. Yeah. There's lots of different things going on in this Super Rugby Australia this weekend, including the option to do a kick out from your own goal line in certain circumstances. So if you hold up somebody over your own line and different things like that, instead of taking a scrum, you just get to do it, drop kick it off your own line, which I think is an interesting one. But what we have talked about in the past, and what I think we want to get into, is the 50-22 stuff that's been talked about, and we're going to see this at the highest level in play. So just going to read through the basic premise. So when a kick taken from within the defending team's 50-meter area travels into touch within the opposition's 22, having first bounced in the field of play, it results in a line-out throw to the kicking team. So essentially, when I've got the ball, I'm trying to kick it over the fullback, bounce it out into play inside their own 22, and then we can win back possession. It's not just a line-out to the team that doesn't have the ball. So some criteria, clarifications there. They're pretty much standard stuff. But look, we've talked about how this is designed to take the numbers out of the defensive line and make people put at least 2-3 guys in the backfield to cover these kicks, so they're not going to give up the line out. So, Sean, is this going to create more space in attack, or are unscrupulous coaches like you with this red card rule that you talked about a couple of weeks ago, which means you're going to put your second choice 7 on the pitch and you're going to tell them to get a red card the first 15 minutes and you're going to put your first choice guy on afterwards? Right. Is this going to work, or how are coaches going to try and manipulate it?
I had a word with myself about that one. I think that I gave too much away there, but I don't think we'll see that happening too much. I think we'll see a little bit of. We'll definitely see a little bit of 2 centre backs playing on the 15s, which you see a bit of now, which will free up the middle of the field. We may start to see scrum halves dropping back in the boot a little bit. We'll certainly have to see wingers dropping back a touch, being a little bit more careful. And therefore there'll be space in the wider channels. Interestingly enough, just on that any kicks inside the 22, the defending team can't mark the ball in the air now or anything like that. They can mark it in goal, I think. But that's another implication for wingers having to maybe drop back and be on their toes a little bit. So it will free up a little bit of space on the outside. I think this is great for the brilliant kickers. Ronan O'Gara would have been salivating over this new law. Somebody like a Dan Bigger, those sort of guys who can thread the ball through.
Sam Davis is another one.
Sam Davis in their own half, chisel the ball. I think there's going to be a tactical advantage to those who've got a good driving maul, some good set plays. They'll want to drill it into that area. For the teams that blitz on the outside and wingers push up hard, they're going to leave themselves vulnerable, and the fullback's going to have to do a lot of covering like that. And incidentally, as well, what's interesting, this is flipped as well. So I think it's 22-50 as well. Am I right?
Yeah. Yes, you're correct.
You could kick from your own 22. You take a Sam Davis, people like that from the Dragons. You could kick from your own 22, and if it bounces and goes in to the opposition's half, you get the line out.
Yeah.
So
what an exit strategy.
Yeah, I mean, you think on turnover maybe, or a knock on, inside your own 22, your opposition are pressing, you've got the ball and you're trying to pick it up. Sam Davis, there's nobody in the backfield because the fullback's up. He's been bang, you chisel it down there, 2 bounces into touch, you get the line out. It's a double bubble, it's going to be brilliant.
I think it's going to give to teams who cough up the ball inside the 22.
Yes.
And then somebody looks up and he's like, "Oh, fullback's not there." Ping, and This is going to be.
And the other good thing is that it'll introduce the spiral kick again.
Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden it's got to be rotating to roll accurately into touch. You can't do that end on end; it'd be ridiculous. So it's a return for the spiral, which I'm a big fan of that, because the other thing that comes with the return of the spiral is more mistakes.
Yeah,
the ball coming off, and then mistakes make for more counterattack. So I'm a big fan of the whole thing. I can't wait.
What I'm really looking forward to on Saturday is players just completely forgetting where they are, what's happening.
Yeah.
Calling for a mark and it's not going to happen, and they get drilled, stuff like that. It's.
I'll have a good. I'll be have one eye on that on Saturday. I'll be looking at the backfield as much as I can, just to highlight for our watchers and listeners, because I think it's important that we get into this quite quickly. We get up to speed with new laws. We're busy looking at other things and talking about other things, but what impacts is going to have? Is it going to be a game changer for us? And fair play to the Aussies, they're giving it a go. And I will be interested in seeing inside the 22. You watch rugby league, and the last tackle tactics that they have with little kicks. We're going to start seeing those. So your intricate little kickers are really going to come to the fore, particularly the cross-fielders, the little aerial bombs, because they can't mark. It's going to be exciting when it gets to that, 22 area.
Yeah, absolutely. And also might flag up engagement on the live broadcast might be down a little bit because Sueno won't be commenting. He'll actually be on with us
Andrew
Thank you,
Swain.
Sean Holly.
Nice.
Yeah, no, he's right up for it. Now he's a producer, commentator, a caller as they call him there. But he's brilliant. I worked with him in the World Under-20s Championship in Argentina last year, and he's fantastic. Right, he got the call the final. He impressed so much as he went through, and I gotta say he's a real gentleman. He knows his Aussie stuff. He'll be up to speed on these laws, but he's such fun as well. It's a great coup for us to have him on Under the Stick Saturday morning.
Wicked.
Happy days. A big thank you to Sean. Do you know as well, I think Kyle Reese, if you have nothing else to do on Wednesday nights, you might as well come on down and be on the pod, because
I think he wants to come on, man. I think he wants to come on.
Yeah.
He's like
Kyle,
me that night I couldn't
welcome.
come on. Remember that night I couldn't come on and just kept tweeting in?
Yeah, absolutely. No, Kyle, you are more than welcome, mate. We'd love to have you on, and you can put some manners on Holly, because none of us can. He's just he's just streets ahead of the rest of us.
Although I tell you what, Adam, you did miss what I think is arguably the most important thing of last weekend. I was right twice. So I was 16-0 down against Sean. It's now 16-2.
Yeah, 16.
The comeback is on.
Yeah, who's the chap who played second row for Swansea that you were talking about?
We don't need to talk about that. We are talking about what happened during the game. This has nothing to do with Mr. Diplock.
I think what we'll do is we'll just do a promo reel of these, and it'll just be you and Sean, and we'll just do the ding 1-0 Sean.
Ding. Yeah, the scores. Get the scores going. Ding ding. God. Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah.
To be fair, I was 8 when Diplock played for Wales, but to be fair, I should have known that he wasn't the second row.
Guys, I think it's almost time for shutting up shop here. We need to find best comment or question to send out some bear hug gear to. Anybody that any comments, anything tonight, guys, that have stuck out that we want to say, yeah, this person deserves a bit of bear hug support gear?
I quite like is it Satch who put what is Paul? Why does Paul Williams have all those fly swatters on his wall?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Right, let me go and find that one. Yeah, here we go. So, right, shocked. I think it's Irish. Irish.
Okay.
Shocked is the Irish word for 6.
Nice.
So, shocked. If you're still with us, and we'll return some comments on the YouTube thread. Get in touch with us. DM us at Under the Sticks. You'll see the scrolling underneath here. You'll see the Twitter handle. DM us. We'll put you in touch with the guys at Get a Bear Hug, and they'll sort you out with some of that really cool orange bamboo support gear. Paul, are you using any of that for your tennis?
Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to get a little set of the calf support, because I've injured my calf more times than a negligent dairy. So I am going to be putting those on, because as it comes towards winter, my calves always go. So I'm going to get those now for the autumn season.
Very good. Well, Mr. or Miss Shocked, I'm just gonna go out on a limb. He's got a Call of Duty icon there, so I'm gonna say it's a he. But we'll be in touch, and you've won yourself some bear hug support gear. So there we go, gents. Unless there is any other business, I think we are done for tonight.
Just different time on Saturday. Everyone listening, we're on for the Aussie game, Brumbies against the Rebels. Yes, Ad?
Yeah, that's it.
So make sure you tune in. Check our social media. We're on a little bit late. I think it's 10 o'clock, 10:05, with Andrew Swain.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. And really looking forward to seeing how all the kicking works out, and seeing if Paul has a different coloured Wilson t-shirt this weekend.
I've got another one to wear. I bought 3, so I can't remember which one I haven't worn. I'll wear whichever one it is.
Aussie. I'm going all Aussie Saturday.
Nice.
Yeah. We definitely need to have a shit shirt pod or a shit shirt watch along. So yeah, let's get that in. Do you know what? Through all my hard work of putting things in, do you know what? The one piece I forgot to play in. How good does it feel to be James Lowe when you've just signed your new contract.
Yeah.
Leinster. There you go.
Especially
See, that's
during
what I like
difficult-
about him as well.
And I tell you what, signing a contract during COVID times, that's worth double.
Yeah, there's a man who enjoys being on the pitch, and that's just coming from a turnover penalty he's celebrating. That's not a try. That's not a trophy. It's a turnover penalty in a semi-final, and he's an excited boy. Mr. Paul Williams, thank you very much for your time. Sean Holly, again, as always, thank you for enlightening us and giving us some credibility. It's basically how I got Al on the show. I said, look, it's two chancers and Sean Holly. So this
Someone who knows what he's doing.
He's a top man.
So,
Apologies if my screen's been freezing. It's definitely we've got some problems in South Wales, but I think you can hear me. I've really enjoyed tonight. Thanks, Ad. And we haven't missed McGeady at all.
No, not at all, not at all. And I think the problem you're having is not the electrical storm; it's the electricity of everything that's happening with this pod at the moment. So
Exactly.
Yeah,
that
it is,
awful pat on the back for ourselves. We'll bid everyone adieu. Good night, guys.
He called me cheetah, cheetah, cheetah. Ooh, cheetah, cheetah, cheetah.